All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Onelife Podcast. Here with Eric. Eric has an amazing show called Gladius.
Cool, thank you.
Give me a rundown on what is Gladius.
Gladius is Cirque du Soleil meets Roman gladiators with a little Mad Max thrown in there. And
Gotcha.
it's all done with aerial acrobatics, horses, gymnastics.
Gymnastics on horses, though, right?
Gymnastics on horses.
On horses, while running.
While at speed, yeah.
Yeah, and how many people you got in your cast, in your team?
20 horses, 15 performers, and 10 tech crew.
Do you really?
Yep.
What are the horses? You got draft horses?
We have a little bit of everything. We have everything from little minis that are literally about that
Super
tall.
cute, yeah.
Norwegian fjord horses, which are a pretty rare breed out this direction anyway, and they're kind of a really ancient breed with a cool dorsal stripe, all the way up to the Clydesdales that you'd think of for Budweiser.
Your big draft horses.
Yeah, big boys. Our biggest one weighs 2,500 pounds.
Is it really?
And is 6'5" at the top of the shoulder.
What's its name?
Thunder.
What a perfect name. And
I do have a new one named Apollo that's the same height, but we bought him and we got him out of like a pasture and he was really thin. So once he kind of bulks up, he may be giving Thunder a run for his money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, what did he weigh when you got him?
I don't know. I only put I just always assume they weigh about 2,000 pounds.
Okay.
I only put Thunder on a scale because I was like, gee, this horse is huge. I wonder what he really weighs.
Gotcha.
And he actually came in at 2,500.
That's crazy. And all your horses are rescues?
Not all of them. A lot of them are rescues. Some of them are bought at an auction where most of the time I'm bidding against like the meat market. So it's not technically a rescue but
you saved their life.
Yeah. And then some of them I buy. Some of them somebody will call me up and be like, hey, I got this horse for sale that I think would be perfect for you guys. Are you interested? So it's a little mix of everything. But a big percentage are actual legit rescues.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah. What made you rescue horses, or what like obviously you got a passion for all animals, or it's just horses? I know you got like 3 dogs or something too, right?
Horses more than the rest, but animals in general.
Where did that come from? Like what makes you think to start a show like that? I mean, that's
I'm an idiot.
That's a big goal.
that's
a big goal that most people even think about.
Yeah, no, I kind of grew up on horses and at like 5 years old I got bored of sitting.
Where'd you grow up?
All over. I was born in Kentucky.
Okay.
My dad's from Israel, my mom's from Canada. Somehow we ended up in Kentucky. I was born there, moved to Colorado when I was 3.
Okay. Like a farm boy type upbringing, or
yeah, ranch.
Okay.
More ranch than farm.
Okay.
And I literally was on horses like the day I was born. I got my first pony when we trailered him to Colorado, so before I was 3.
Oh wow! Okay. So you've been around your whole life.
Yeah, okay. And I got bored of sitting on him when I was about 5, and started standing up on him and jumping off him, running through the field.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So you started really young.
My parents saw a little club in Colorado that did the equestrian vaulting, which is a little bit more controlled version of trick riding.
Okay.
And went, hey, maybe we should send him there so he doesn't kill himself.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of where that started, and I did that for a little while with that club and outgrew that pretty quickly. And at the time had a quarter horse, sold that, bought a Belgian. I was like 14. Started traveling to California and working with other horse stunt stuff.
Gotcha. How common is horse stunt stuff? Like
not common.
I was gonna say, is there like some secret little club that I don't know about, or is it pretty rare?
So there's a couple different venues that people go with it. So there's the equestrian vaulting is probably the smallest of all of them.
Okay.
And there's Western trick riding, Cossack riding, Roman riding, which everywhere other than the U.S. is called Hungarian post for whatever reason. And those are kind of the main different directions you can go with it. I started with the vaulting, got into the Roman riding really early, and then kind of branched out into the rest of it too, just because I like all of it.
Gotcha. What do your parents think about you doing that and doing it now? Did they see this coming, or?
Yeah, I mean they I was always an idiot in front of a crowd. If there's a crowd of people,
you like attention,
yeah, I'd turn on. Like I'm pretty quiet if I'm just like chilling out.
You're very chill.
And then you put a big audience in front of me, and all of a sudden, yeah!
You just got the need to perform, man.
So I guess they saw the performing thing pretty early on, and even when I was competing in the vaulting stuff, and I was on the U.S. team, and competed at multiple world championships. And actually, I met my wife at the world championship in 2002 in Spain.
I was going to say where you guys met. You guys met in Spain.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, we met in Jerez, Spain, right off the coast, and we met there. About 8 years later we finally got together, but that's where we actually met for the first time. So yeah, toured all over doing that stuff. I got hired by the state of Israel to help work with their vets on rehab using the horses a few different times over the years. Cirque du Soleil founder picked me up to help create the show Cavalia, and we toured with the show Cavalia for a while.
Where is that? Is that still?
It's not playing anymore. It played from 2002 till pretty recently.
Really? And were you traveling the world with that?
Yeah,
really?
We traveled. So we toured that. It was about 6 weeks of. We'd play in each city for about 6 weeks. We were in each city for about 8.
Is that amazing to do? Just to be in a different city and doing what?
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. I was 21, 22 at the time, something like that. So yeah, so it was great. I got to travel around,
getting paid to travel, doing what you love.
And it worked out really well for me because they needed the horse that I had at the time for the show. So I literally had my horse, a truck, and a motorcycle, and ran around the country, and they put me up in a new housing thing every city, and I get to screw around and go perform at night. And
that's amazing.
So
most people hate what they do for a living, and here you are traveling the world, getting paid to do what you love. How does someone do that? Like, how does someone break away from the rat race, get out of that stupid job they hate, and start following the passion?
You got to be willing to take risk. I mean,
that's a big one, right?
That's the big thing. Is it's really safe to go, hey, I'm going to go work for GM
and take your paycheck week by
I got
week.
My paycheck. It comes in every week. I know what I'm making. It's a big company. They're not going anywhere. And if they do, my experience translates to now I can go work at Ford. No big deal.
100%. Yeah.
Doing something like this it's a niche market. If I can't find work, it's not like I can just be like, oh, I'll just work for this other place. Like,
I'll just work in this other horse show.
So it's a big risk, and you have to be willing to A, take that risk, and B, it never goes smoothly. It's not like you make a plan business, and right? It goes, it's a business, and it doesn't always make money. So I've done everything from bounced at strip clubs to rebuilt Harley motors to whatever. When the money's not where it needs to be, and we need some, my overhead's still high. I got 20 horses to feed, if nothing else. So you just have to diversify your abilities and really like, okay, so I have these skill sets. This is what I'm focusing on. But when I need money coming in, what can I do to pull money?
Do what it takes to make the money to keep the show running.
Right. I mean,
through the highs and the lows.
Right. And sometimes things are great, and sometimes they're not. And because the way this show's structured, it's like a huge chunk of money comes in, and then it all dwindles away, and that big chunk of money comes in, and then it all dwindles away.
And is that just a lack of consistent?
Yeah, it's just because we don't have enough, and 2020 did not help anything.
COVID.
We just, like, everything was kind of where it was supposed to be, and then COVID happened, but life happens.
Yeah, that's part of this, isn't it?
You just have to deal with it. But
talk to me about how much food are you going through? How often?
Oh, you mean the horses? I was talking about me.
Oh yeah. Well, I know you eat a lot yourself too. But I've seen the horses come in.
About $3,000 a month in hay.
3,000, and is that enough? Does that feed?
$3,000 a month in hay feeds them.
And that, you're not talking about medical. You're not talking about.
No, that's just the hay. There's grain. There's medical. There's shoeing. There's, hopefully they don't get sick or anything. But
that's what I'm getting.
But it doesn't. I mean, I do a lot of it, so I save a lot of money in that stuff. But I mean, one bad vet bill is a couple $1,000s, and
damn. Okay.
just boom, gone.
That's crazy. How you seem to be like you seem to be able to do everything. You fix cars, you fix bikes. How do you pick that up? Is it just you just take action and figure it out?
Yeah, I need to learn how to do something. I do it. I mean, nowadays it's easier. You can Google it and watch a video on YouTube, and then go, okay.
Do you pick things up quickly? Is that kind of your personality?
I guess. I mean,
because you never cease to amaze me what you can and can't do. There's not much I haven't seen you not be able to do.
I mean, even if I don't know how to do it, life isn't that complicated. You know, you want to put a wall up, you get some boards, you get some nails, you look at how to structure it so that the thing will stay up. If you don't know, you can Google it real quick. It's not, and then you put the nails in the boards and you build, and the wall starts to go up, and then you go, okay, that works, cool. This and just kind of keep going. I mean, but
you're also not scared to fail, are you? Which is probably a huge side. That's a real entrepreneur's trait.
Yeah. I mean, you fail all the time. I can't tell you how many times this show has failed. I mean, we've put the show on and lost money. I couldn't tell you how many times.
Okay.
Or one disaster. We had at one point I had a $10 million investor. Everything was going great. We were about to open. We just bought a tent for $1.7 million. We had a tent, expensive camping trip.
Wow.
Everything was great. I had the whole cast rehearsing for like 6 months to do this thing. The investor gets back together with his, at the time, ex-wife. She decides she thinks the show should be all about her, and the whole fucking thing crashes.
That sounds like a movie, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really wish we had cameras filming that whole fiasco.
Yeah, you see these movies where the guy gets back with the girl, and that actually happens.
Oh, it happens straight up. He was, prior to her, did exactly what his job as an investor was supposed to be: write the checks.
Yeah,
wrote the checks. I had put all the right people in all the right places to make sure that everything worked and was going to be successful. And then he got back together with her, and all of a sudden she shows up at a meeting. Like, well, I think we should, like, I don't remember asking your opinion. Really? And it very quickly, at first he was like, oh, don't worry, she's just whatever, but, it's you and me. I'm like, all right. And then days later, it was, well, I can make this call because it's my money. I was like, it's my show.
You sing, Sing 2? The movie Sing 2?
No.
That's exactly what happens in that. Yeah, it's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's
the investor puts his daughter in there and makes it all about her, and the show starts to go.
Yeah, and it's exact. And so, like a month before we were supposed to open, the whole thing crashed. Me and about 75% of the cast all ended up leaving. He decided to keep moving forward. I still owned all the rights to the show, so he had to totally revamp a month before opening. The way it worked out, he owned the tent and some of the horses, so some of them stayed with him, and then a bunch of them were mine and went with me. He had to buy a bunch of new horses, get a whole new cast, do all new costuming, because the way the contracts works, the costuming was mine, the music was mine, so he had to do all that all over again. The concept was still mine, so he had to completely redo the whole thing. And they opened, they played 3 days, got pretty much laughed off stage, and then he just disappeared. Left the cast that he had hired high and dry. They're stuck in San Diego. A lot of them from all over the world. And he just disappeared on them. And hadn't paid them in weeks, because he had been like, oh, we're tight on money.
Wow.
And a few of them were friends of mine. And I had warned, I said, look, go make your money, but make sure you get paid. Things are getting sketchy over there. I told I'm not going to be upset that you go do this, or that's fine. We all need to make money.
Yeah.
But make sure you get paid, because things are getting sketchy, and they ended up not getting paid. So he kind of screwed, and had the guy and got back with her and said to go to Hawaii and take a trip and hang out over there. The show would open. It would have been great. He would have been making money. We would have all been happy. But
gotcha. Is it hard to rebound from that, or like want to try again when something massive goes wrong? Because that's huge.
It was big. I got home and was pretty pissed, and the whole cast was pretty down. And I got I just needed something to do, and I had a bunch of scrap metal laying around, so I welded up a set of bleachers at my house.
Oh, that's where that started, was it?
And went, you know what? We have more than we had before this. We had we had $300,000 worth of music, $100,000 worth of costuming, a bunch of more stuff that just kind of happened because of it. I said, fuck it, let's do a Kickstarter and see if we can. The one big mistake that I made with it was when, and it's something I do to myself all the time, when we were negotiating out how to do the deal with him, he wanted to give me a $200,000 a year paycheck as we built it, and I was like, fuck that, man. Let's we have a limited amount of money. Let's take that money and build the show, and then once the show's making money, then I'll get my money.
So you're willing to work for free, seeing the big picture. Not for free, but I mean,
which in hindsight was a terrible idea, because I would have had a bunch of money in my pocket at the end.
But I mean, if it went well, you would have had a bunch more money in your pocket.
Right. If it had gone well, it would have been good. But because of the way it worked out, it kind of screwed me over. So we were pretty much broke and had nothing, and we did a little Kickstarter and started doing shows at the ranch, and I think the investment thing happened 2012, 2014. We opened the show on our own.
Gotcha. So, okay. How did the Kickstarter go? Did you make some money?
We got $20K, which for the kind of, I mean, like I said, it was a $10 million thing to open the show through an investor. So $20K is obviously a very, very little amount of money. It was basically enough money to get all the performers in the same place and to do the opening day. Okay. And that's pretty much what that covered.
Your the show that you do at your house, you're in Centennial, would you say? You're in
Centennial. Yeah, it's Centennial.
You're kind of in the middle of Aliante Centennial.
Yeah, it's like on the edge of Centennial and North Las Vegas.
Yeah. How often do you do that show? How many times a year?
It really varies. That 2013 season, we did one a month.
Oh, did you really?
We did a bunch of them just to try to, because we could. It was the only thing we could do after the whole thing had kind of fallen apart, and we figured we'd try to build a little fan base and get things going. And our first show had like 150 people. By the time we kind of wrapped up that season, we were probably about 500 people a pop.
And the one I went to last year, how many were that? That was pretty big.
It was like 1,000.
Okay. Which is, and what he does, he puts the show on at his house, in his yard. I wouldn't really say yard, property.
Yeah, backyard basically.
Yeah, pretty much everything's built by scratch. The bleachers, and people come and they donate money. They buy like clothing. They donate. You got free photographers there. You got videographers helping you out. And it's a really, really cool vibe, isn't it? Like,
it's actually a lot of fun. So we're
something to highly recommend checking out.
October 29th is the next one we're doing here. Halloween's kind of my thing, so we do an annual Halloween one no matter what.
How do they find out where it is?
Facebook is probably the easiest. Gladius The Show. It'll be on Instagram, TikTok.
So just follow your social media.
Social media.
Because you guys post a lot when it's coming out, don't you?
Yeah. We don't really advertise for that, only because I have pretty limited seating, and typically it's full. It's full.
So the parking is like all the way down the street.
So it's not.
But that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah, no, I mean it's great. I mean, but we just don't. I don't put any money into advertising because already at capacity.
Gotcha.
Or in the case of the one you came to last time, way over capacity.
Have you had any problems with neighbors or police?
No, the city gave me some problems. The neighbors love it.
The neighbors love it, do they?
Well, I mean, it's a free show for the neighborhood.
And they're all horse people too, aren't they? Right. Because you're on horse property. Yeah.
So the neighbors love it. The city got on me at one point about some of the stuff that I'd built. And I fought the city for about 3 years to get them to back off. But one of their big things was, we got to have the neighbors come out and have a meeting and see if they have any problems. And I was like, oh yeah, that's going to go good for you. They all love us. Oh, that's cool. The neighbors came out and just went off on the city officials. Really? They were like, leave them alone. They're out here doing good stuff. That's awesome. This is awesome. Why are you bothering us?
So you haven't got any local Karens?
No.
That's amazing.
When I first moved there, we had somebody who would call on everything.
Gotcha.
And I don't know. We ended up No, we never found out. And he called the cops anonymously.
Okay.
And because I ended up befriending the cop at one of the shows they were at. Now he's one of the helicopter pilots. So he took a picture of one of the shows from the helicopter. Yeah. So we have like a police, like the ones you see on like cops or whatever of the show.
Is it a good picture?
it's good in that it's entertaining. It's not like a great. I mean, the quality sucks and everything, but it's just kind of a cool like it comes straight off the cop show.
It's who
TV.
you're friends with, right? Like goes so far.
So anyway, so we became friends with him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I know the general area it came from, but that's it." And so we had to deal with that guy for a little while, and then I guess he moved. I don't know what happened because all of a sudden we had no more problems.
It's been good since.
It's been totally cool since. So no idea who he was or what happened, or maybe he came and saw a show and said he liked us. I don't know.
yeah, he changed his mind.
I have no idea.
Love it. Where do you start a show like that? Hey, what makes you think you can do that? Where do you start? How do you delegate? You're talking. I just want people to understand the size and scale of this. What is not a comparable show, but what is on the scale of something so people would know?
On the show live part of it, it's right on par with any of the Cirque du Soleil shows on the Strip. The production side isn't as high as that because they have a $1 billion production budget.
But the moving parts, the people.
But as far as the people and all that stuff, it's
safety.
Safety. Right?
Yeah,
that's our specialty.
So, at what age? Where do you start? What makes you think you can do this?
So I did the Cavalia deal with Cirque, and I liked doing it, and I liked the show, but I always was like, God, there's all these cool things we could do, and they won't let us do it because I'm just a performer. I had some to do with the creation, but like I wasn't high enough up to make any decisions.
Gotcha.
And
so you wanted more freedom.
So I was like, this would be so cool if they would just let me do this. This would be cool. I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Gotcha.
So when we left Cavalia, I started working on just building up enough animals, building up enough friendships with the performers and people, and kind of getting a group of people and animals and everything. And
did you learn a lot by being in the show?
I learned without going through the creation of that show, there's no way I could have pulled this off.
You hear that about a lot. If you want to start a t-shirt company, go work for a t-shirt company before you start your own. Because you're going to learn valuable lessons.
And unfortunately, I didn't learn as much as I thought I did.
You need to get back for a year.
Turned out I could have used the second course. There's just a lot of stuff behind the scenes that even though I was there, I still hadn't had enough experience at, or any. So there was definitely a learning curve. For instance, when that investor happened, that was right when we were starting to like, okay, we're going to make the show happen, and the timing kind of just worked out. But we bought, like I said earlier, we bought a tent for $1.7 million. I had never bought a tent before that didn't come from like Walmart.
So $100 tent.
I'm kind of at the mercy of Creative Tent was the company that we used, and kind of at the mercy of them going, hey, okay, I need this much space, and I need to be able to set up and break down. What do you got? What can you do?
Where do you store it? How do you put it up?
So they came up with something that they thought would work for us, and in hindsight, if everything had gone forward with that, we would have ended up having to buy another tent because the setup and breakdown just took way too long.
Okay.
It would have cost us.
But how do you know without doing it?
Right. The tent that Cavalia uses, setup is like 5 days, and teardown is like 3.5 or something like that.
This would have huge, right?
This would have taken like a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a 200 by 200 building. It's huge.
That's huge.
And so just there are things like that if in hindsight, I would have talked to some friends in the circus world that would have been like, no, that's a terrible idea.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to set that up and tear it down fast enough. You need to go with a design more like this versus that. So there's a lot of those kind of things that like I kind of learned after the fact. That whole investor thing turned out as big a disaster as it all was. It was also a great learning experience.
Generally they are, aren't they?
Yeah, and I learned a ton of things not to do.
But I mean,
and luckily,
that is
because it
right?
fell apart, that was all on his dime.
You ever heard that saying, like, fail forwards, fail quickly? Like that was a good way of doing that, right? You failed quickly, but you learn a lot of lessons early on, so you could adapt.
Right, and I mean, I think that's the biggest part of any of that. So you have to be willing to fail, and you have to be willing to learn from those failures, and not just stick your head in the sand and be like, no, it'll work, I'm going to do it that way again. Like, okay, these things didn't work right. Why didn't they work right? How do we change that?
We need to change it.
And how do we adapt to make this work the way we want it to?
Gotcha.
So I think there's a lot there. But to get back to your question, we got done with that tour. I wanted to build, I thought the idea of having my own show sounded really cool. I thought I knew enough to pull it off. And
don't you love being naive sometimes?
Yeah,
I feel like being naive.
I was like, this can't be that hard.
There's a saying, like, if I knew how hard the business would be, I never would have started.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you're on the same page.
Yep, for sure.
But you're so better off just taking action.
And so we just kind of went for it. That investor helped. The investor did help. As much as disaster was, it did help, because when we came out of that, we had a bunch more experience and some more stuff, and we went through a little part of just like, this sucks. And like I said, I built the damn bleachers, and I was like, fuck it, let's do the show here. Let's just start. We'll start small.
How small were you when you started? How many horses? How many staff?
Or staff was probably, performers about 10. Tech staff was me.
Was your wife in the show at the time?
Yeah.
From the start?
Yeah.
Okay, so you and Lisa.
So at that point, yeah, she was already there. I want to say at that point, and I had probably 15 horses. I'm kind of guessing at that. I don't know, something.
It still was, so it wasn't tiny.
No, it just hadn't grown as big. I mean, and we with the investor thing, we had like 30 horses or something.
Oh wow!
And so
okay. So it felt tiny.
So we kind of had to scale everything back.
Felt like you took a huge step back.
Yeah, I mean, our sound lighting budget for the show was $1 million. I had $1 million for sound and lights. We went from that to, hey, what can we get from Harbor Freight that'll light up the thing enough, and we'll do the show at sunset so we get some cool natural lighting.
Gotcha. Just to make it more epic.
Yeah. So that we had to scale it. I mean, we scaled it down from a $10 million show to a show we were able to do on no real budget.
Okay.
The good part was I owned all the stuff, so I didn't, like the horses I already had. I didn't have to buy horses. The music we didn't have to buy music. We had everyone had just gotten paid to rehearse the show for 6 months straight. So
okay, so the performers are getting paid, were they?
Yeah. So while we were performing, while we had that investment, the performers were getting paid, and I'm a big fan of paying people enough that they're happy about the pay, so that then they concentrate on the show. When we did Cavalia, one of the creation part, the contracts were originally written in French and then translated to English, and translation was bad, and so nothing made any sense. And we got paid like it was like $200 Canadian a week or something really stupid.
Oh wow.
And we everything was paid for. We didn't have any expenses. They had housing and food and all that stuff. But it was still like, how did I? At the time, I think it was like 75 cents to $1. So it was like $130 a month, a week was our paycheck.
Gotcha.
And I remember everybody sitting around the bar after work or whatever, and most of the conversation was always how much they're screwing us over on money.
Yeah, which doesn't help anything, does it?
I don't want that to be what the performers are sitting around talking about afterwards. I want them to be sitting around going, that was really cool when we did this thing, but what if we...
How do you make the show better?
That's what I want them sitting around talking about. I don't want them bitching about not having enough, that the money sucks. So anyway, point of that is, when we did the creation, I was paying them $1,000 a week.
Gotcha.
For creation, which is plus housing, plus food, plus, I mean, they had zero expenses other than their cell phone bill and gas if they wanted to have their own car there.
So their focus is on the show. Only.
So, and even Cirque du Soleil doesn't pay that for creation. So
Circus doesn't pay that well.
So it was really, everyone was really happy about that part of it, and so they're a lot more willing to come and work.
Okay.
When we're like, this show is going to be on donations. I have no idea if we're going to make $5 each, or like we're just going to split the donation pot. And because
so whatever the show made,
right,
you split it between all the.
Yeah, we just split it.
Okay.
So
did you take any expenses out first, or you just?
I took out the expenses it cost to put the show on that day.
That makes sense.
So whatever we spent, printed material, and we took that out, and then we split the rest evenly between everyone.
Which is, how cool is that? Like, that's
Being a lot cooler if it was $1 million.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact you're willing to do that for the long term, for the big picture.
Yeah, it's my goal has always been the big picture in this thing.
And you seem to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, which most people aren't really able to do, are they? They always see from their perspective. But I mean, you're putting yourself in the performer's shoes, like, hey, how would I feel? What would I need? What would make me comfortable?
Well, I'm one of the performers too, so it's not. I mean, I'm right there with them.
Yeah, which is awesome. So, like, you're in the trenches with them,
it's not like I'm sitting up in an office going, these numbers, we can cut some numbers from here. This guy doesn't need to get paid that much. Why is he getting paid so much? He's only in the show for like 20 minutes.
But I mean, that's amazing that you're doing that from the start.
So, I mean, the goal is that at the end of the day, the whole thing makes a lot of money, and I make a lot of money. I mean, I'm not doing this as a charity event. Like, I want to make a real money at the end of the day, but I'm willing to wait for it to happen when the thing's making the money that everyone can make a lot of money versus, I'm going to take 90% and you guys are all getting shit. So
most people aren't willing to put the work in long term. Like instant gratification. Like the gym's a perfect example. Everyone wants the guns. Nobody wants to put the work in. Everyone wants the six pack. No one's willing to do the diet. So how do you build that long term? Most people don't have the ability to think long term. How have you done that?
How?
And how many years have you been going for now?
Honestly, probably because I started. I mean, I was competitive with the horse stuff, and it's not instant gratification. You don't get. It's just like gymnastics. You're not going to go out there and learn to do double back in 5 minutes.
No.
You train it for years and years and years and years and years, and finally one day you hit it.
Yeah.
And
it's the same for anything worthwhile in life, right?
you just, so if you don't have the mindset of like, I'm just training, it's not we're building it up, it takes time, you're just not going to get anywhere. You have that instant thing. If I go out on a gym floor and try to throw a double back, or I go to the gym like I'm going to bench press 500 pounds today and I've never trained before, well, I'm not even going to get the bar off the ground. I'm going to kind of jump in the air and fall on my ass. Like, like it's not, it doesn't work that way. So I guess I started as a kid. I just always been, what do I got to do? What are all these steps, hundreds of thousands of steps to get to the point where I actually want to be.
Hard work, consistency.
Yeah, and that's all. It's just putting in the time, being consistent, and working hard. And I think that goes for anything from trying to build a show from the ground up to trying to build bigger biceps. I mean,
no, I totally agree.
Just put in the time.
What is the goal with the show? You want to be on the strip? You want to be traveling the world?
I do not want to be traveling the world. I've been on tour most of my life.
Okay.
I have traveled all over Europe. I've traveled all over the Middle East. I've traveled all over North America. I've traveled. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to take a trip to Hawaii to go hang out, but I don't want to tour. I don't want the show to be a touring show just because the logistics are a nightmare. It's a pain in the ass, and I've been doing it forever.
What's the ideal?
The goal is that an executive from Caesars calls me up and goes, "Hey, we saw your show. We really want it here."
Gotcha. And you're in.
I'm not expecting it to go that simple. I mean, it's gonna.
Yeah, but I mean that's the goal.
But the goal would be to be on the strip.
Okay, permanently.
Permanent show on the strip.
And then, would you always plan on being performing at it, or would you like to step back and kind of oversee the show?
I mean, eventually. Unfortunately, I'm not 20. I'm not 20 anymore. Right? Eventually, I will have to step back more and more. At some point, I'll probably have to step out of the arena completely, and just my job will be write checks. That's the reality of it. If everything goes the way I would like it to go, I'll probably do one more show. So we probably have 2 different shows going. I don't think I want to do more than that. It was one of the, like Cirque du Soleil is a great example. There's 500 different shows, and I feel like the creativity from the person at the top, Guy at the time, kind of gets watered down. There's just too much going on, and any one person only has so much creativity. And what they do is they hire in people that are also creative and that kind of work on each show individually. So there's not one guy coming up with all of it. There's lots and lots of people at different levels. But I I don't know. That's not my goal. That's not. I don't want 40 shows going around. 2 sounds awesome.
Okay, I got a question for you because I've been a performer. How many times a week have you done the same show? Like when have you done 5 nights a week? Have you done 7?
I think the most I've ever done were 7. No, I lied. I did a show where we did 3 to 5 shows a day.
Oh wow. The exact same show?
Yeah.
How do you find yourself getting unmotivated? Because you become like a robot?
That show a little bit. The one really cool thing about doing a show with animals is that it's never exactly the same.
That's a good point.
There's always variables. So
Gotcha.
there's always you can't just go robot.
Yeah, you can't just go through the motions.
Some guy in the audience has a little something or other that one of the animals doesn't like. And now you've got a problem that you have to deal with without the audience knowing that you're dealing with a problem. So there's always it keeps you a little less robotic.
Okay.
Which is nice. Honestly, one of my favorite things about doing live shows versus like film is that you have to be on your toes. You have to make this work right now in front of an audience to the best of your abilities and make it as seamless as possible versus going, oh, this didn't work, let's retake it.
Okay.
So
yeah, no, I feel like only a performer would understand that question because you are doing the same thing.
Yeah, and
the animal
totally,
thing makes a lot of sense.
So when I was in Cavalia, one of the acts we were in didn't have any animal, or at least I wasn't involved in any animals in one of the 14 acts I was in, and that particular act would get kind of robotic.
Okay.
Because you would, I'd turn here, I step over here, I'd do this move, I do that, and it did get a little bit like okay. And to be totally honest, I got to where I would be cracking jokes. Is how I learned. The only French I ever learned was so I could crack jokes to the French people while we're doing that act.
Gotcha. Just to keep yourself entertained.
Just to kind of keep people on their toes, keep me on my toes. I'd say something stupid, and you're supposed to stand there all stoic, and you say something stupid while the audience can't see you because something's going in front of you, and the guy next to you is going. So
I like it.
Just kind of screwing around.
I'm sure you've had some pretty good injuries. What's some good ones?
Most recent one, bicep got.
Oh, was that from?
That was Halloween. Yeah, Halloween last year.
Oh, really? What happened?
I tore the ligament right off the bone.
How'd you do it? I've seen you recovering from it on social.
I did something to it, training where it was pretty hurt.
Okay.
I knew it was hurting. And then I was just getting ready for the show, and there was a stupid stump that I needed to move, and there was a root sticking out, sitting in front of me, and a root sticking out over here.
Yeah.
And I just reached out to grab it and yanked it back really hard, and just not thinking anything about anything, and it popped.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So,
what about like? I don't think people understand quite what you do. You're on like top of huge like draft horses like Clydesdales. You're standing on like 2 horses. Yep. You got another 4 in front of you.
Yep. I'm picking people up over my head. Yeah, you've got
your wife in your arms. Yeah. What have you come off?
Yeah. No, that was just the most recent stupid one. But couple concussions, compressed C5 and C6, 8 pins and screws in that ankle from the second break on it. Torn abdominal, cracked sternum. That one really hurt.
That one really. Yeah, like a stunt performer, right? Like.
Which one's which? Rotary cuff, separated shoulder, broken collarbone. I'd probably half dozen.
Have you heard someone else come off and you've landed on them, or because you're a big guy?
No, part of the whatever of being since I'm always the one picking people up and whatever, is that you take the fall.
Okay, so you'll be the coach.
So what happens, and we've come off in bad positions with other people, and what happens is you kind of wrap them up and try to spin your back or your shoulder or whatever, and they land on you. So it doesn't always feel good, but they normally walk away.
All right, so you've got the show, you've got your wife, you guys do it together. You got such a stressful thing going on. How has it been a relationship and running a business like that? Are you guys like got each other's back? How do you juggle that?
honestly, we really help each other on it. So it's
because you guys seem super tight. Like,
yeah,
you got a really good relationship.
We don't have. I mean, don't get me wrong. In the middle of a thing going crazy, it's not like we've never yelled at the other person or something.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of the time, it works great. We're working with each other and trying to make things happen, and so
Have you got different skill sets that kind of complement each other, or are you very much the
she's
same?
pretty.
Yeah, you're not right.
And I can lift heavy shit.
But I mean, does she deal with different? I find guys less emotional dealing things. And girls a little bit more emotional.
There's 4 of us that work full time on the show. So we all kind of have our what we do.
Okay.
So yeah, she kind of has a certain set of tasks that are kind of more her deal, and she takes care of them.
Skill sets.
So we all kind of have our own thing, and then we check in with each other, make sure that everything's working, but we all kind of have our own stuff, and her skill sets, the stuff she does in the show. Well, honestly, a bunch of stuff we both do.
Yeah. But
she has a couple of skill sets that she does that I don't really have a whole lot to do with.
Okay.
I fix things.
I'm big, strong. I fix things. I had a question. You've got so you got exciting news coming up. You're going to be in a Netflix show, correct?
Yeah, a movie.
In a movie.
It's Rebel Moon.
How do you get that? Like, how does someone find you?
That is actually that's very amazing, bizarre. Right? It's actually a very bizarre story how that worked out.
What was it, by the way? Sorry,
Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon.
It's Zack Snyder film.
Okay.
There's a bunch of big names in it. I can't talk about it a lot, but you're welcome to Google it, and you'll get way more information than I will have to tell you.
So how does Netflix find you?
So it's actually a very bizarre turn of events. I turned down a circus show because I had another event that I was supposed to do, and I turned it down.
Is this recently?
Last year.
Okay.
They hired Kansas Carradine, who's David Carradine's daughter.
Okay.
To do the show, and we used to work together on Cavalia. She was coming down to get to them. She had to go through Vegas, and she hit me up and was like, "Hey, I'm coming through Vegas to do this gig. Do you mind can I lay over at your place?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." The Zope gig? Yeah. Oh, cool. Actually, I did that last year, and didn't do it this year, so I guess you got picked up. Cool. So she came down, hung out a little bit, saw the horses, went and did the gig, and then went and visited a friend of hers, Tad Griffith, who is a stunt guy in LA.
Okay.
If you saw the Zorro with Antonio Banderas, he's the guy who stood on the horse and jumped over the tree branch.
Okay. Yeah.
He was in a bunch Superman and Spider-Mans and a bunch of other stuff, but that's kind of the easy. And I've known him. I've talked, we've met a few times over the years, forever, but not like on a not good friend kind of thing. And so she went and visited him, and he just happened to be. They were talking about an upcoming movie he was trying to get set up for. I said, "Yeah, I need a bunch of draft horses that can be ridden in stunts and stuff." And she's like, "Oh, I was just at Eric's place."
How crazy is that?
And he has all those. Says, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Okay, because you're not too close.
Yeah,
you didn't really think of it.
Yeah, he didn't. And he's like, "Oh, I forgot about him. I wonder if he'd be interested." So then he hit me up, and we started talking. And
how cool is that?
Yeah, so totally random, weird, and who knows? I mean, there's not a lot of. Most draft horses pull a wagon. So he may have ended up finding me on it anyway, just because there's not a lot of options. But the way it worked out was pretty funny.
That's amazing. Have you shot yet, or you got it?
Oh yeah, we've been shooting all summer.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
awesome.
We've been shooting. That's why I've been so hard to get hold of.
Okay. Oh, that's why you've been traveling so much.
Yeah, we've been shooting we've been shooting all summer. We've shot like 2 months already.
Is this the first time you've been in a movie?
Yeah, I've done some reality stuff and TV stuff and whatever. It's the first movie, and this is.
How is it? You enjoying the process? Is it what's? Are you allowed to say? Is it stressful? I mean, you can handle stress anyway.
I don't think it's stressful because I'm used to doing live shows.
Okay.
I'm used to having to work right now.
Make it work.
Shows at 8:00. this all has to be ready and it all has to be working.
No second takes.
And there is,
okay.
They're like, yeah, we're going to shoot at 7 a.m. Okay, fine. We'll be there at 5 in the morning to be ready because you guys think it takes me 3 hours to get ready. Oh, we're pushing it back. You're going to shoot somewhere before lunch. Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? Go ahead and go to lunch. I think we're going to have to push it back a little more. Okay, cool. 7 p.m. Okay, we're ready to shoot. Great.
Really?
So much fun. I'm so happy that you got me here 14 hours before I need to do anything.
Hanging out the whole day. Is it fun to watch, or is there's only so much you need?
Well, it's not like, I mean, it's a huge set. It's a $400 million budget on this movie, so everything is everywhere. So I don't really, like, and I'm dealing with horses and the stunt, like, I'm in a very, very separate from the rest of it. So, like, I deal with the actors and stuff when we're on set doing things, but I don't deal with it the rest of the time. Whatever else they're shooting, I have nothing to do with.
Okay.
So it, for the most part, I sit around and I'm bored. That's what most of it is.
Interesting.
And then when we go to shoot, a lot of the people in the movie are like really like, okay, man, we got to make and they get all nervous. I'm like,
this is what I do.
This is the easy part. Are you kidding me? Like, if it doesn't go perfect, we just do it again. I don't understand why this is stressful.
Yeah.
Like, this is
how
easy.
many takes is it taking to kind of get the shots?
It depends. There's so many variables. Everything from the actors having to hit their lines, to the extras having to be in the right place, to the lighting having to be right, to the camera just wanting a different angle. We did one shot where I probably can't go into too much detail. We had one shot where the actress was doing something with the horse, and hours. We were there hours, over and over and over and over again, and all the horse had to do was stand there.
Gotcha.
Like, and we were there for hours, taking it over and over and over and over again. And then sometimes it's like 1 or 2 shots and we're good. So it just
interesting.
It just depends. It has, I think, on some of the more, and movies, my first big movie, period. So I don't really know what I'm talking about, but it feels like some of the big complicated shots, they kind of try to, do a couple takes and figure, okay, this is what we're going to get. On some of the more intimate, simple shots where they can really get, they want to see the teardrop on the actor or whatever.
Yeah.
That sometimes seems to go forever because they want to get every single little detail perfect. Okay. Whereas on the kind of bigger, epic, complicated stuff, they're just like, cool, that was close enough to what we need. We can do the rest in post.
Gotcha.
That's the feeling I get. I'm no movie expert. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you have have you got a certain animal you got a special connection with, or you got like a favorite horse?
Yeah, so my favorite horse forever actually passed in 2020.
And that was the one you had
Yeah.
What was its name?
Red.
Okay.
Wasn't really creative.
The alpha? Was that
okay. Yeah. Not a very creative name, because when I got him, I bought like 8 horses at the same time.
Gotcha.
And I was just trying to come up with names, and he was like red colored.
Big
so I was
Red.
like, Big Red. That's exactly what I called him.
And what made him so special?
He was just, it was like I don't know, if you put horses like cars, like a quarter horse would be like a Camaro, and a thoroughbred would be like a Ferrari, and a draft horse is kind of like a big truck.
Okay.
He was like a monster truck. he was, the rest of them were kind of a big diesel truck going down the road. He had a 1,500 horse nitromethane burning blower motor under the hood.
Gotcha.
So he had all the big size and everything, but when you wanted him to go, he'd smoke the Ferrari.
Gotcha.
It was just, and all it took to want him to, a lot of the times with the drafts, you kind of got to push them. They're a little bit lazier, and they don't really, they'll play and whatever, but if, they work a little bit, and they're kind of like, cool, we're good.
Yeah.
Him, man, all you had to do to get him to go was not tell him to stop.
Really?
As soon as you were like, okay. And so
he enjoyed working.
He just, and it, you had to bring him down. Like, I'm pretty sure he would have run himself into death if you let him. Like, you had to, okay, we're done.
And did you just have a special bond with one?
Yeah, we just.
I don't really understand that bond, not growing up with horses, but I know everybody who's had horses say there's just something special about.
Yeah,
the bond with horses.
I think it's just humans have grown up, or not grown up, have evolved with horses alongside horses for so long that it's just something that.
So that connection is real.
Yeah, it's definitely there, and and I mean, I love all of them. It's not that was my kind of favorite. I guess.
No, which makes total sense.
And then randomly last year, I was at an auction looking for a horse and found this one's really blonde, a really similar horse as far as like attitude and energy and everything.
Okay.
So he's kind of taken that spot.
And who's that one? Odin. That's a cool name. Who names the horses?
I don't know. We kind of throw out a bunch of names and then go, hey, I like that one.
Like, yeah, you and Lisa, or like
the four. There's the four of us.
Okay.
Nicole, Alethea are the other two.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we just kind of throw it out there. Sometimes we put a thing up on social media to come up with ideas, and
that's a really good idea.
People shoot a bunch of names. Most of the names they come up with are names that we either already used or they're funny that don't really have anything to do with.
Okay.
But just because we have a bunch of people kind of know our themed are kind of like Norse, Greek mythology that we're using for naming and stuff. Yeah. So they'll throw out a bunch of stuff like, oh, Titus. Yeah, we already got a Titus. Oh, you know what I mean?
Polo.
So yeah.
Gotcha.
But it kind of, we play with it on social media, and then we kind of sit around and kick it around and normally give it a little bit of time just to see if the horse kind of seems like a if it kind of fits. Does that horse seem like it should be a Thor, or is it you know what I mean?
Okay.
So kind of
interesting.
There's no magic
formula.
Anything. Yeah, just kind of.
Lastly, I just wanted to ask you, anyone out there thinking of starting a business, or like something as huge as what you do, or just a simple little business, like what's your kind of advice?
Don't half-ass it. Either do it or don't.
I like that.
If you're gonna go for it, go all in. Don't have plan B, C, D. And I know everyone, you should have plan B. You shouldn't have plan B, because then there's something to fall back on.
Yeah, that's safety net, right?
Plan B is make plan A work.
I like that. I love that. Yeah. What about having a safety net, or having a certain amount of money behind you, or do you feel like if you're stingent, you feel like you're going to figure it out?
I feel like if you wait for that, you're just wasting time.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I would rather have $1 million sitting in the bank when I go, hey, I'm going to do this. But if I go, hey, I'm going to do this, shit, my bank account's got $10 in it. Well, I could go and work for somebody and try to make $1 million and spend the time and do all that shit. Or I could just say, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
And what about valuable lessons you're learning by taking action opposed to affecting?
Nothing happens if you don't make it happen. Nothing happens for free, and I don't mean that monetarily. Nothing happens if you don't actively do something about it.
Gotcha.
So if you're going, I want to start a t-shirt business. Okay, start looking at t-shirts. Start looking at the machines. I can't afford that machine. All right, jump on Craigslist or OfferUp or whatever. Figure out a way to do it. I can't do that. Well, maybe you can look at having someone else print the first set of them. Can you? And then you get the business moving. And I mean, I'm just pulling shit out of my ass right now. That. But how do I get this business moving and making some money and doing something? Okay, now I found a guy who will help me out and print pretty cheap. So I'm going to print these shirts. I'm going to sell these using him as the printer, and now I've got a little money coming in. Now I could buy this machine off of Facebook that needs a little bit of work, but needs a little work. I'll figure out how do I fix it? Okay, I figure out how to fix it. It's a lot cheaper. Put a little bit of work in. Now I've got a good machine. It just took a little work to make it work. And I'm doing it in my garage, but at least I'm starting it and getting it moving, versus sitting around going, all right, how do I get the money to buy this?
Everything you didn't fall on my lap, therefore I'm not going to take action.
So
I love that. That's just such a
just do it, figure it out, scale it to wherever you have to scale it for the time, and build it from there.
Love it. There's a Tony Robbins saying, he goes, it's not a lack of resource, it's a lack of resourcefulness. And you seem very much you seem to really understand that.
I don't think there's anything you can't do if you're willing to figure it out. It
may not happen overnight, but eventually you will figure it out.
I mean, for whatever reason, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. I don't know why. A frozen desert sounds like shit to me, but he wants to go to Mars. He's figured out a way that he's probably going to end up on Mars.
Or if he doesn't, someone else is going to, because of what he's put in, right? Like,
right. And I mean, I would bet money that he ends up on Mars. It might be his dead body gets shot out there. I don't know, but my money says that guy ends up on Mars. But the point is, it's possible. I mean, what did he start? I don't know his startup details exactly, but I don't think he came from $1 billion.
PayPal.
He built up one thing and used that to leverage another thing, and built that to leverage another thing, and now he's got fucking SpaceX going, and he's shooting rockets up into space for. That's what he wants to do, and he's figured out how to do it, and he didn't wait for NASA to call him up and. While he sat on his couch playing video games and say, "Hey, you want to come be a rocket engineer?" He figured out how to get rockets that'll go to Mars.
Love it. Even Tesla, he contacted car companies first, and the car companies weren't interested. He's like, "I'm just going to start my own." That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And now look what Tesla is.
Yeah.
Huge.
No, that's you.
To take lessons from these people.
That's how things happen. You make them happen, and
you make them happen.
You figure out, like I said, scale it from wherever you have to. I mean, had he gone a different route, he could have maybe started with AC cars and been like, I want to make electric cars. I'm going to start with a small scale AC car. I'm going to get those better than the other ones out there, sell those, and scale them up. Then we'll have ones that kids can drive around, and we'll scale up from that. I mean, I'm just throwing out dumb ideas on how you could build it without having to go, okay, I'm going to wait till Ford goes, hey, you want to come build electric cars for us?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen.
Okay.
I mean, maybe for somebody it does, but for the majority of us, that doesn't happen. What does happen is you can go, how do I make a movie company? Okay. That's what I want to do. Now I need to figure it out, and you start figuring it out, and
start breaking it down.
Maybe you have to start with a cell phone.
Yep.
And doing social media movies. I don't know. It's not something I have any interest in, so I don't know. I haven't ever put any thought into it.
Totally get what you're saying.
But start figuring it out. Figure out a way. Yeah.
Figure it out.
Make it happen.
And just keep going.
And if you're willing to do it, and you're willing to work hard at it. I mean, The Rock has that stupid saying, "Be the hardest working person in the room." And if you're willing to work hard enough at it, A, you'll get things done, but B, other people will see that and they'll jump in and help you out. People like to be part of something. So if you start this and you get it going, you'll have people like, hey, this is an awesome idea. I love it. What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And
the right people will recognize the grind. Like you're coming here, we're in a spare bedroom against the wall. We have storage over here, but you're here and you respect the fact that I'm taking action, therefore you're here. So I totally get it.
Yeah, and you get exactly this deal. I mean, I don't know what your end goal is here, but you got to start somewhere, and here's a great place to start. This build it up, keep it going, get more. You get more traction, get some more money coming in. Eventually, have your own studio that you're working in. Turn that into the next level of whatever that level, wherever it is that end goal is, and
it goes back to being patient, right? Like you said,
you have to be patient because it's not going to happen instantly. And then the reality is that end goal changes too. I mean, like with the show, I haven't got there yet, but with some of the competitive stuff, I wanted to be a national champion. I got that. I did it. So then I was like, well, all right, hit that goal. Now what do I want to do? I want to whatever. And then I want to be performing on a worldwide show. Got there, did that. Okay, well, now I want the show to be my own. So you're moving, now I'm at that level of it. When this all happens and I get it to where I want Will that be the end goal?
No.
Probably not. I'll probably be like, well, this is cool. I mean, right now I'm like 2 shows as much as I want. Who knows? Maybe I get 2 shows going. I'm like, this is so awesome. I want another show.
Yeah.
Or I want to build electric cars. I don't know. Whatever the next.
Setting goals, constantly pivoting.
Yeah, and be open to changes and be open to whatever you want to do. Being not necessarily being the total end goal, but being the goal.
Gotcha.
You get to that goal and you learn more. I mean, every time you accomplish something, you learn something. Every time you fail, you learn something. And sometimes that learning makes you think, it would actually be more cool. What if? And then you go and do that. So.
No, I love it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
I really appreciate that. That was amazing. Yeah.